a topic that I've probably mentioned in posts and on the Wellers blog in the past, and in conversation with you on the podcast. I think the biggest issue that I see that successive chancellors don't seem to address is the state and size of the tax code. So, I believe it's now something like 21,000 pages, or it was prior to this budget, equating to something like 11 million words, or 10 or 11 million words. Well, that's almost as gargantuan as the UK's national debt. And we have an Office of Tax Simplification, and we've had that for a while. And yet, the tax code, we don't seem to see legislation being cut or reduced. We just seem to see chancellors fiddling around the edges and adding more. And I think, that must be, no one individual can know what all of that is and understand and know the whole of the tax code. It's too big. I think 11 million words, I think they're saying is more than the average person reads in their lifetime.
Yeah.
So yeah. Putting a personal opinion forward here, I can't see how that's good for the UK economy. The opportunity cost for people navigating the tax code, understanding it, filing their tax returns, trying to achieve legitimate tax savings using reliefs, must take up a huge amount of time and money that, frankly, could potentially be put into other, possibly more productive means. I think you have to look back to the 1980s and Nigel Lawson for the last chancellor who actually started removing taxes and cutting tax legislation. Since then, certainly through the 1990s, 2000s, 2010s, chancellors have just added more and more and more. And now we have this gargantuan book, if you like, that no one person could read the whole of in their lifetime, let alone understand it all. And I think the Office for Tax Simplification, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, but they seem to just be in anti-avoidance measures, whereby for every announcement that's made, they then create more legislation to guard against potential tax avoidance issues.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's, to an extent, the trouble is that that there's probably an element of kind of having to close certain loopholes and that kind of thing in the legislation when things are introduced and are meant to be used in such a way. It can often be the case that loopholes are found and actually it's applied in a different way. So as a result, you've then got to introduce separate legislation on top of what you've already got to try and close that off. So it is a tricky one, Chris. It is a difficult one. I mean, it would, just touching on what you just said there, really, if for nothing else, reducing the tax legislation would be great for all the students doing their tax exam, because when I did mine a few years back, you go into the exam and you're allowed the legislation there. I mean, the amount of books that you have, there were various people that turn up with suitcases full of these books. It's insane, and you sort of see them sat on the desk there. So, for nothing else, just for the tax students, really, it'd be great to reduce down the books that they've got to carry around, because they're heavy.
Just shows how clever you folks are, Tom.
Something like that, Chris. Something like that.
And on that bombshell, I think that's a good note. That's a good note to finish on. So thank you very much, Tom. And be sure to tune into the Wellers blog for more analysis on the budget and all sorts of other tax matters, especially corporation tax, which is explained on there. Thank you, Tom.